Hi everyone, it's Michelle Molinaro with Crazy for Clayton Around Town, where I'm your guide to the people, places, and experiences in Clayton, North Carolina. And today is a very special interview because I get the honor of sitting here with Mayor Jody McLeod. He is the mayor of Clayton, North Carolina for several years, and I'll let him tell you a little bit more about that. But I want to start out first. Thank you, Jody, for being here.
Thank you for the invitation.
Mr. Mayor. And can you tell us a little bit about the Jody McLeod side, pre-mayor first?
Sure.
About you and your family?
Yes. So thank you for having me today. I'm excited to be here. I have lived in Clayton all my life. I was born in January 15th, 1966, about 4 blocks that way, behind Compare Foods, in what was then known as Lombardi Park. My parents were sharecroppers from out of the Cleveland school area, and they came to Clayton and built the house that we grew up in, and their house payment was $56 a month, and they were worried about how they were going to continually pay the mortgage. I grew up in a wonderful neighborhood. You were able to play kick the can and hide and seek, and you learned to ride your bike, and we were able to walk to school, and all of the good things that you look for in a small town, and neighbor helping neighbor. And you know, my mother was a big fan of church, so I grew up at First Baptist Church in Clayton, and as a matter of fact, I was probably the only kid who got perfect attendance for Sunday school. Now, you know, that really wasn't cool with my friends, but my mom believed if you didn't go to church on Sunday, then you didn't go anywhere on Sunday afternoon. So I felt I feel very fortunate to have had a good, solid family background, and to have a good church family and a good community to grow up in. I feel very blessed.
Yeah, you were telling that story. My upbringing is New York City, Staten Island, and you might think being down south that that's so different, but I mean, we played in the streets. My father whistled. You knew every father's whistle, so when it was your father that whistled, you knew we had to go home. And my parents bought their first house for $19,000, and they were nervous how they were going to pay for that. And that home today, it is definitely, I think it's over $2 million.
Easily.
Yeah, easily. So,
wow, that's wonderful. Yeah, so there's no place like growing up in
No.
small town with hometown values, and having people that are genuinely good neighbors, and you actually know your neighbor, and you do kind deeds for them, and you help them out when they're sick, and if their kid needs picked up or carried to soccer practice, then you just jump in and go, and all the things. It's just fantastic.
Your family, I call it. More than friends, but technically not family.
Right. So, when I was 14 years old, it was the first time my mother ever got me out of school early for my birthday, and she carried me down to Smithfield, which is the county seat, and she got me a worker's permit. And she carried me to Clayton Food Town, which is now Compare Foods, and she said, go inside and see Waylon and get a job bagging groceries. Well, it took me about 2.5 hours to build up the nerve to go inside and ask for a job. But I did, and I got one, and I started bagging groceries. And that at the time, back in those late 70s, that was the community hub, was the grocery store. That's where you saw everybody and caught up and found out how your mom's doing, or anything along those lines. It was great to be connected to a community through the grocery store.
That or the beauty salon.
Exactly. Well, the beauty salon was actually in the Barber building, and it was owned by Miss Margaret Morgan. It was called My Lady Hairstyle. I had to go with my mom because I was the youngest of 3, and stay up there while she got her hair fixed, right? And when you left, you smelled like Aquanet hairspray. Like when I got home, my brothers were like, "Oh yeah, you've been with mom to get her hair done. We can smell that." So you had to go inside and change t-shirts. Because it wasn't cool to smell like hairspray.
Yeah, big pink bottles.
Right. So
tell everyone, you're not just the mayor, you also are an entrepreneur here. So
yes.
Tell everyone about your business first.
So in 1990, I went to school at East Carolina and majored in business, and my concentration is entrepreneurship and small business. I worked for Annie V's Florist in Clayton while I went to school at East Carolina, coming home on weekends to help with weddings and funerals and all the things that are around a florist business. And in 1990, I had the opportunity to purchase her business, and it was a complete challenge. I felt like I was totally prepared for it. My parents We're very happy with the decision to help acquire Annie V's Florist. Annie V's is one of the second oldest florists in the state of North Carolina. And I want you to keep in mind that in the floral industry around the world, Europe and Asia, they've been doing floral design for centuries. But it's a very new, they call it a baby business in the United States. It didn't get started until like the early 40s to mid 40s. Prior to, they were reverting back to moss and chicken wire to make beautiful flowers to go on top of caskets and that kind of thing. So I had the opportunity to buy Annie V's, and then I had an opportunity to move. She was located beside the First Baptist Church in a house. We moved on to Highway 70, where there's an old gas station. That's where KS Bank is now. Oh. And we got a lot of exposure through those 4 or 5, 6 years that we were down there with so much traffic on Highway 70. Right? It was nothing compared to what it is today. Then we had the opportunity to buy Clayton Flower Shop and move our business up to Main Street, which was wonderful because back in the day, in the early 90s, being on Highway 70 was like being on an island. You were far removed from the happenings and the central business district of downtown Clayton, right? You were not in the know. People weren't coming in to have coffee and gossip, or make connection, I should say. Yeah. But, it was completely different. And to be able to come back, become a part of downtown Clayton, and then to buy the old post office building, which is located behind Clayton Steakhouse. It's where I am now. I'm no longer in everyday retail after 32 years of floristry, Monday through Saturday, Sunday, 24/7. You know the rule. It's nice to be able to be in a studio environment and get to pick and choose what I want to do. Yeah, well, your work is amazing. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I've been extremely other people and. Yeah, I've been really blessed. I got a lot of scholarship through the North Carolina State Floral Association to become North Carolina certified. Then I had the opportunity to go to the American Institute of Floral Design and become AIFD certified, which is an international recognition in floral design. Yeah. And last year in Orlando, Florida for AIFD Symposium, I was the symposium coordinator. So that's a 3-year planning and entire. And you're asked to go out and mentor. Yes, and I also work with Teleflora as an education specialist, so I get to go to different regions of the country and speak with mom and pop small flower shops and teach them the different lessons that I've learned on how to be success, on how to take a few somethings and make it look like a real something, that kind of thing. Profitability, all the stuff. It's almost like a mission. And, floristry in the United States is a little bit of a dying industry, but when you have a death in the family, you really need a florist, right? Or that kind of thing. So it's been an extremely rewarding career for me, and it's still booming. So now you talk about that. So now tell us why you're so famous in Clayton is because you're our mayor, and how long you've been our mayor, and what attracted you to do that. So I was elected in the late 90s to town council. I was the first young person ever elected to town council, and town council was generally made up of older senior men in Clayton and had been that way historically. That particular year, town of Clayton elected their first woman council member and a first young person, Sue Johnston and Jody McLeod. And so I had 4 years, 2 years as council member, 2 years as a mayor pro tem. And I learned a whole lot. But that was also the time in Clayton's history where Clayton near bankruptcy, from poor management, from spending cash money on something that you should have financed and things like that. So needless to say, those of us who were running for re-election at that time, no one got re-elected. New people came in. And as I continued to be a part of the community, I was taking leadership classes because I knew one day I wanted to be the mayor. And when I became the mayor, my goal was it was time to redefine the role of mayor. Historically, the mayor had been a job where you did ribbon cuttings and ran 2 meetings a month. But for me, I felt like it was so much more. It really was about marketing, branding, economic development, telling the story, like getting buy-in from people to come and want to live in Clayton, North Carolina, sharing my stories of growing up here, seeing my friends who graduated from high school in 1984 saying, we can't wait to get out of this town because everybody knew your business, right? And then 7, 8, 9 years later, coming back to live, work, and play in Clayton, North Carolina, to raise their families, to be a part of such a fabulous community. We hear so many people doing these interviews, right, Rob? Rob's behind the camera.
that say they left and then they came back to Clayton to raise their family, because it is just that. It's an amazing place to raise a family. And when I'm listening to you, I'm like, he doesn't just do ribbon cuttings. This man is everywhere. But those are the fun things to do, as a ribbon cutting, or you light the tree at the holiday time. I see you doing those, but I also see you behind the scenes and the really important stuff, the infrastructure of our town.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that, because we are a growing town, and I don't think I really looked at water and sewer as importantly as I should have until I heard you speak on water and sewer and what it takes to grow a town as fast as we're growing.
So as we sit here today and video this Crazy for Clayton segment, I want you to know that the wastewater treatment facility that Clayton operates is the one that was built before I was born in 1966. And we have expanded and band-aided it as much as we possibly could until we got to the point where we have to secure the future for Clayton and build our brand new water reclamation facility. They don't call it wastewater treatment plant anymore, especially when it's like over $200 million. But the importance of that, the importance of being able to have clean drinking water, the responsibility of being environmentally protective of what goes back into the river that we draw our water supply from. All of that is hugely important. And I also have the opportunity to serve as the vice president for the North Carolina League of Municipalities, which is an organization that works with the General Assembly when it comes to any laws or anything that's related to cities, towns, or villages in the state of North Carolina. So all of that, culmination of all of those, has really been able to create a lot of strong emphasis on some things that are not always like the prettiest and the most exciting to talk about, but it's something that's essential to the health and the overall well-being of the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's simplicity, but I remember when people were complaining of their water bills, and you put it so eloquently. You said, well, you can go to Walmart and buy a couple gallons of water and, see how much that costs versus every time you flush your toilet.
Right.
It's cheaper to flush your toilet, and that's going to take a couple gallons of water. So, it's like just putting it in perspective for everyone and letting people speak out in the community to ask you these questions. You're accessible to them. I've lived in quite a few other places. I've never had the opportunity of meeting my mayor and them knowing my name and me knowing theirs. So I just find you to be incredible at what you do.
Well, I thank you very much. And it's an incredible honor to be the mayor of Clayton. And the beauty of Clayton, North Carolina today is that beautiful community fabric where we take families who, like myself, who have been here forever, and families who are just coming in. And that weave of community fabric is what makes Clayton such an exceptional place to live and work and play.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
My sister-in-law was just here, and she said, I took her down on Saturday to the market, the farmer's market, and we went into Boulevard and down here, and she goes home and she tells Tony, she goes, everybody knows me. Meaning her, not me, meaning her. And she goes, they all talk to me like they've known me for a lifetime. And I'm like, that's just our town, V. They're all friendly. No, they knew me. They talking to me like they knew me. I said, okay.
Yeah, one of Clayton's matriarch, 80 years ago, came to Clayton. Her name was Sybil Champion. She was huge in the efforts of the Hoke Ellington Memorial Library. And she was interviewed one time, and we have that in the archives, where Sybil Champion, who was from England, said that she always hoped that Clayton would always be a friendly and welcoming community.
It certainly is.
Because when she came to Clayton, back in the day when it was Stalling Station because a train came through here, people welcomed her, and she didn't speak Southern. She didn't have an accent. She had a British accent, but people were kind and welcoming to her. And I have tried so hard to let's make sure we continue that legacy, that everybody is welcomed. It doesn't matter where you're from. You are welcome in Clayton.
Yeah, if you didn't catch that, that was a trivia question a long time ago on Crazy for Clayton. And what was Clayton's original town name?
Right. Stalling Station.
Yeah, it was not Clayton at first. So that was
and I will tell you a cute story about the name of Clayton. So, the mayor has the opportunity to speak with most all third grade. They come to the Clayton Center. They learn about local government and the cultural arts side of thing, and they go to the library, and they come and meet the mayor. And one kid, my very first time out, he said, so where did Clayton get its name? And I said, well, I'm pretty sure it's because we have all this clay in the fields. And he was like, no, that's not right. He said, we've already been to see Miss Betty at the library, and this is where Clayton got its name. So first and foremost, if you don't know the answer, say you don't know the answer, I'll have to get back to you. Or just go to the Clayton Library. They'll be able to help you without question.
Yeah, without question. So tell us, why are you crazy for Clayton?
So I'm crazy for Clayton because it's my hometown and it's the greatest place I know. And I know that comes from Andy Griffith's show with Aunt Dee and Miss Clara saying my hometown is the greatest place I know. But this is the greatest place I know. And it isn't just because of our geographic location, our close proximity to the mountains, our close proximity to the beach. It's because there is a huge sense of community here. And everybody is welcomed. And everybody wants what is best for Clayton. And sometimes we agree to disagree, but at least we're open and honest with each other, right? And we don't
respectful.
and very respectful of one another. And that's why I love Clayton, North Carolina.
Yeah.
That's exactly why I love Clayton, North
100%.
Carolina.
I thought moving here, I was like, oh, my accent is going to give me away and they're not going to welcome me. I would make a joke out of it because I was afraid. I didn't need to because I was welcomed. And it was just an amazing place. And it was the first time I ever said, this is home. We would live somewhere else and I would say to Tony, oh, we're going home, when we would be traveling up north. He's like, why are you not calling this home? And until I moved to Clayton, it was the first time. And I was like, no, we're home. And
So when I first met Michelle, she had the same accent, right? And I said to her, listen, if you help me learn to speak English correctly, I will teach you how to say y'all in 4 syllables. And so far, she's getting better at it.
I'm getting better. I actually did it at a meeting here at Hometown Realty, and you could hear a pin drop when I was in the middle of a sentence and I said y'all, and they were like, what?
What? I
Yeah.
can't believe she said that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Believe it.
That's what makes Clayton great.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure.
I will post a link so you can learn a little bit more about Jody. Come out. Next time you see him, you can walk right up to him and say hello, introduce yourself, let him know where you're from and why you are crazy for Clayton. Don't forget, this is Michelle Molinaro with Hometown Realty, where we don't just love where we live. What are we, Jody?
Crazy for Clayton!